We're live. What's happening, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the It All Depends podcast, the show where we share tactical and actionable insights for customer success manager. I'm your host, Prash, and I'm really stoked to have you joining us today. So, my guest today is a very creative individual, in addition to being an exceptional CSM at SAP. So, you must have seen her visuals on customer success topics on LinkedIn which are not just pretty to look at, but also have really solid content. I was pretty fortunate to work with her on one of those, and she's a fellow parent as well. So we have a lot to talk about. But thank you so much for being on the show today, Valeria. So good to have you. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much, Prash, for welcoming me here. And what a word of introduction. I'm very humbled. And yes, thank you so much. Indeed, really happy to be here. Lots to share, lots of common topics with you. And I had the pleasure of working with you on other topics and collaborate with you already. So I'm really looking forward to having this conversation with you today.
Me too. Yeah, thanks for being here. Excited for our conversation. All right, like how the episode is really set up, we really need to set up the foundation because it really depends, as the as the podcast actually is named, on the company, the industry, how the customer success team is set up on your side. So would kind of love to dive deep into that. Valeria, if you don't mind, could you just briefly share about the company SAP you're working at and how the customer success is actually set up?
Yes, absolutely, and with pleasure. So, as you said, I am a customer success partner. We call ourselves partners at SAP, and we are set up as pretty much in a very logical way. We are having our own place just after sales is closed, so we're taking care of all the post-sales relationship. We do collaborate with sales very deeply and continuously through the entire life cycle of our customers. And we, of course, have other um, teams that gravitate around customer success and doesn't necessarily belong to customer success, but gravitates around, which is onboarding, which is, of course, some renewal teams that supports us, and that we, as a kind of conductors, we act as a conductors, and we bring those teams whenever there is a right moment, whenever there is a right milestone. We are at the center of this post-sales relationship with our customers.
Yeah, I love the metaphor of being a choir conductor
Yeah.
as CSMs. Uh, on the onboarding, so are you involved in onboarding? Do you do the onboarding, or there's a separate team for that?
We do have a separate team that ensures the successful onboarding, and of course, the customer success partners are a part of this process. We do not just let our customers kind of follow that onboarding process on their own, so we follow that closely. And for certain topics, we can also onboard and ensure certain pieces of onboarding ourselves, but we do have an onboarding hub for this that helps greatly and ensures that everything is kind of ticked, all the boxes are ticked well.
Okay, got it. So if I'm understanding correctly, so it's sales, onboarding, then yourself, you would be the long-term point of contact, and then
Yes.
you work closely with the renewal team on the renewal side of things, and sales again if there are growth opportunities. Would that be the correct setup?
Absolutely. We and I personally love to keep the sales through the entire life cycle, so to keep very close relationship with them. Be it, be either I detect some upsell, cross-sell opportunities, but also just for the duration of the contract, just for the duration of the whole relationship, to be honest. We have usually long-term partnerships with our customers,
Hmm.
so it makes sense to keep the sales team in that relationship. And we're also in a very complex organization where we have multiple solutions, so multiple sales point of contact. And it's important to just kind of navigate all this setup.
Okay, got it, got it. No, makes sense. And with regards to, I don't know, we don't want to get into your, the size of your book or anything of that sorts, but then I'm just wondering, like, what is your communication cadence with the customer? Is that like, uh, monthly, bi-weekly, bi-monthly? What does that look like?
We don't have the imposed communication cadence, of course. I mean, we are pretty much navigating in a high touch world of engagement. And the communication cadence would deeply depend and would be almost dictated by our customers. I mean, I have several accounts in my book, and with some I have a daily, oh, well, daily, daily exchanges, weekly cadence, and then some of the monthly, quarterly, very kind of regular and um, quite intense cadence. But there are others with whom it will be mostly bi-weekly, and then some others with which it will be with whom it will be monthly. So the you know what? It depends.
Yeah, perfect, perfectly summed up. Yeah, no, I love the fact that it really has to depend on the customer and what their needs are, and not just have a general cadence like, okay, every customer has to go through, a bi-weekly or bi-monthly. It really needs to cater to the customer needs, which totally makes sense. So yeah, that's definitely the right way to do it.
We
All
do
right,
not
I'm
measure.
just
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we are not measured on the number of calls or number of meetings we do per week or per month, if that makes sense. I mean, if just to kind of complete the picture.
Right, right. No, no, makes sense, makes sense. Okay. Uh, yeah, I would. So from what I understand, like you, there's a good setup, a good flow where you partner with the different, cross-functionally with different teams, and make sure there's a seamless handover between the teams. Uh, the call cadence is it really depends on the type of customers that you have and their needs. And what else? I think that's pretty much it on the setting up the foundation, I think. Yeah. And I'm curious, like how big is your team?
So I'm a part of my direct team is around 30, but then I'm a part of a much wider and bigger organization of customer success partners. So we are kind of all split by different solution areas, different products. To speak in a kind of more uh, outside of SAP language, because obviously we have such a diverse portfolio of products. One customer success partner doesn't cover them all. So it also can happen that there are multiple customer success partners who are working on the same account, but from a very different perspectives, from a very different solutions, and with a very different teams.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. No, that's the first. I've never heard on of that setup, like having multiple CSMs partnering on the same account depending on the different products, right? Did I understand that correctly?
Exactly. It's
Okay.
exactly this. Yes. I
Ah,
guess it happens a lot in the larger enterprises. Um, the type of software giants like Microsoft would or Adobe, they probably operate in a slightly similar fashion.
right. So would you closely partner with those customer success partners as well? Like, how does that work?
I It depends. I guess you will hear this phrase very often today. Uh, because that would also pretty much vary from account to account, how the account, how the customer itself is set up. If, for example, if I work on the HR solutions and somebody works on the more of a, I don't know, the database solutions, uh, it would depend if both of those are managed by IT, or if one of those managed more by business partners and more by HR, for example. In which case, I would only work with HR population, and then my colleagues would work mostly with the IT, and we would probably never even see each other there. Um, And it would also depend if some of the integration projects are there. And of course, if we are doing some integrations, we would deeply collaborate together. So it's really, there is no one single model of functioning. It really, really, really deeply depends.
Okay, cool. No, that's like generally if you have a conversation, you wouldn't know about this and get straight into the tactics and strategy. But then once you have this, there's so like the strategy and tactics really depends on the setup that you have, which is very, very unique on the enterprise level. Like you mentioned, you have multiple CSMs working on the same account. So yeah, that's good to know, and that would probably dictate how we approach your day to day as a CSM, right? So it's a nice segue, like a natural segue to kind of get into the tactics and the actionable tips and advice that you might have. As you know, Valeria, I'm a big fan of the Pareto principle and like what the 20% input that results in the 80% output. And we have so many things going on with the customers, like so many things, and we have so many customers that we need to manage. So how do you prioritize? Like, what is that 20% that you prioritize?
I've been thinking about this actually quite a lot, because there are a couple of things that I do that results in an that 80%, or at least I think that results in this 80% of the outcome. And one of those is definitely that effort of meeting the customers where they are. It sounds kind of a bit of a buzzword today, but this whole principle comes from marketing. It is very new, and my background is in marketing actually, and probably this is why it was so important for me to bring that principle into customer success when I started in customer success, which was actually 13 years ago. And that principle is very simple. I mean, in customer success, we have our own tools, our own cadences, our own I don't know, templates, everything on our own, and we are very happy about it. We think that it will help our customers. We give this all to them. We give them the accesses. But the thing is that we work also with the customers who also have their own tools. They also have their own cadences. They also have their own templates. And I remember years ago when I was working with a Fortune 100 giant, they were telling me, Valeria, I mean, it's all good, but we already can't keep up with our own tools to fill in. So your links and everything is all great and deeply appreciated, but we can't do it. So I started to think about this, like, how would I actually integrate into where they are? And that means asking them, they already have some, project management software and like planning software. Well, I've asked them about it. I've asked them to give me an access to that. And by doing this, I was able to create a project plan or a success plan, which is directly in their tool. And all their team is already there, and they see all the milestones, and it became really theirs rather than mine, and I'm just kind of imposing something. Same goes for templates. I really love, in the beginning of the relationship with the customer, just kind of tell them, like, could you send me a couple of presentations of your own and maybe a template? And I would then use those to create my QBRs in them. I mean, they don't really care about the branding of, my branding or our branding. And it's just a couple of slides, but those couple of slides can then be integrated seamlessly into their presentations. So again, when they present to their leaders about what they do with the project, what they do with us as a company. I'm not talking here only my current organization. I was doing it previously as well. They can just take those slides, copy paste them in their own presentation. It's all ready already. It's all in their colors. They don't need to rework anything. So it's that. And I was also I pushed that principle quite far, because I was also based in customers' offices in the past, prior to COVID. I really loved having my small corner in the customer office, coming regularly, and uh, having them creating this feeling that I am an integral part of their team, an extension to their team. So it all goes through all these small details. And why it results in the 80% of outcome, because I think that it not only about, this is how you gain knowledge of your customer, by kind of plugging yourself into their day to day. You get so much understanding of how they're using your tool, what do they do with it, what kind of outcomes they're trying to achieve, what kind of challenges they face, and you really feel those challenges sometimes, like the pressure of those challenges when you especially
Yeah.
sit in the office with them, and then you also manage their perception of you as a customer success partner for real. Like, you're here, you're with them, you are in their work chat, rather than being difficult to contact and need to be send an email every time. So this is it doesn't take a lot of time to set this up, especially it's just the initial setup. Afterwards it's a routine, it becomes a routine, and I deeply think that it results in 80% of the outcomes.
Wow, that the common theme that I get from that is like really removing the friction from the entire process on the customer side, whether that's the templates that you're using, whether that's the project management tool that you're using. You're just making it easy for the customer, which is a great approach. And the whole QBL, like the template and the deck thing, you always like the default is like, okay, search internally in our company, like internally or in the company, and you search for that deck, and you would generally use that template. But then, yeah, that is so interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm so curious to like now check it out. It makes things easier for the customer as well. They can just like copy paste the slide and just have that in their branding, just those little things to remove that friction and make it easier for them. Yeah. It's so good. Yeah, that's a great tip, Valeria. Yeah, yeah.
And
Love it.
look, I've done it 10 years ago already.
Hmm.
I had a lot of eye roll about it. Uh, and maybe 10 years ago, it wasn't that necessary yet. But in today's reality, where everything is like, there is so much information. Our customers are bombarded by, not us, not only us. They have so much going on, like emails, presentations to make, links to connect, tools to use. That makes even more sense now. So yeah, and our branding, we still use it, we still communicate, in the emails, in the events, in everything, but we just remove that. As you, I really love how you said it, like remove the friction and make it more easy. Complexity is a big poison of customer success, in my point of view. So yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely love that. Love that. Okay, perfect. Uh, So I would imagine this, like you focusing on these two priorities, like how does this how does this directly result in your performance? Of course, like we don't want to get into the metric side of things, and you did give us an example of that Fortune 100 company that you work with. Do you have any other example that where these skills or any other skills that you want to bring up that directly resulted in your good performance?
Any skills that resulted in a good performance. Can I mention another skill? Because I think that
Go for it.
this was more of a tip, this was more of a practical tip. But if we talk skills, what I would love to highlight is, of course, communication. And communication is a very vast type of skills for customer success. So what I would kind of focus on and or deep dive into is a storytelling. I really think that in terms of performance, in terms of my personal performance at least, the storytelling, and both oral, in the conversation, but also visual storytelling, is extremely important. And I'll explain you why. On the visual side, I really think that sharing the data just for sake of sharing the data doesn't make sense. So you really need something to support your story, to explain customers what are we trying to do with them, what are we, where are we driving them, and visual storytelling helps greatly when you can select and bring the customers the right type of data, which basically almost on its own tells the story to them. And it helps me a lot in explaining certain things, in driving them to the right direction, in accompanying them better, and also in, because storytelling is not just about me talking, it's not about me talking at the customer, but it's also about understanding what they're trying to do. So firstly, it comes with a lot of there was a lot of question asking, like understanding, deep diving, validation of certain points, and then you can kind of tell them what are you trying to do with them, what are you, where are you guiding them. I think that this is something that works extremely well with the customers. They need context, they need that understanding of what are you doing, what you're trying to do. And we forget that customers don't, they don't do what we do. They don't think the way we think. They don't work in our companies, they don't have the same references. So it's very important to kind of use that, or at least I use that storytelling to basically just explain what are we trying to do with them, just in a very digestible way as well.
Yeah, no, I already know how good you are at visual storytelling. So I totally can see you like leveraging that and helping out the customer. Yeah, I totally can agree on that side where you really collect all the context that you need and then deliver on the content piece, and also not assuming that, oh, customer would know this, customer would know that, but no, like coming from our perspective, we might know that, but then they are not purview to that exposure of the resources that we have, so we can't make those assumptions. So yeah, that's a good call out.
Exactly. And sometimes I'm really like, I should have told them this before, even now, even today, and although I'm trying to be as explicit as possible, sometimes you feel that, oh, you really need to bring your audience first into the same kind of level of understanding before taking them to the next stage.
Totally, totally. And on the visuals that you create, Valeria, do you use any software, or is just like you just use it from scratch, like create it from scratch? Like how do you do
Well,
that?
honestly, well, when I work with the customers, I actually only use the standard tools for visualization. I work a lot with data visualization, so sharing certain dashboards, sharing certain graphics. But again, something that would uh, really speak to them, not just sharing certain data that I can collect because, oh my god, I mean, we are working for software companies, we can collect a lot of data, and we can show back a lot of data, but then it always needs to be kind of linked to what they are trying to achieve, what would be important and interesting for them, and also what they can then reuse to show their success, to show their value, their, like, as a company, as a team, to maybe their senior stakeholders. So it's all about data visualization, which doesn't really need, I mean, you don't need to have any specific tools like PowerPoint or Keynote is largely enough. On the more creative side, then yes, I do use a little bit of a software like Adobe Suite, Photoshop, and After Effects. but that is, we're talking about more of a
Yeah, yeah,
crazy
no,
creative thing.
no. Okay,
But
cool. No, cool.
I don't send gifts, animated gifts to my customers yet. Maybe
That's
I can consider that.
maybe, yeah, maybe you should. That's a good,
Maybe that's the
that's a
next
good
thing.
idea. Yeah. Okay, now I really want to dive into the specific habits that you do on your day to day, Valeria. Like whether that's, all the way from when you start the work till the end. I understand like you have a hybrid work arrangement with
Yeah.
SAP where you can work from home and from the office. And I do understand that you're a parent yourself, like myself as well. So how like what are the habits that you specifically have developed in your day to day?
Um. Well, when yeah, it's actually quite a good question, because if I think about it, I don't really have like a very specific uh innovative habit, let's say. I mean, I'm a parent myself. I drop my kids to school and I start working and I do some sport. But I do use something which is a great tool, a great help for myself, because I am obsessed with proactivity, like how to be proactive with the customers, because I think that proactivity is what makes customer success. It's the whole point of customer success. Well, not the only, but it's definitely one of the main points of customer success, to be proactive, not to wait for the customers to kind of get back to you with the problems. Otherwise, that will be the only thing that you do. But really be there, constantly present, without overwhelming them, but be there, be kind of, yeah, be proactive. And proactivity can come from, talking about innovations, and, there is a release, maybe bring some release features. That is great, but there are only so many release cycles in the year. You can also talk about events, you can propose some trainings, but again, this is quite limited. And I was always on a quest for how to connect to my customers, especially post COVID, when you're no longer seeing them every day, no longer spending time with them every day. Like, how would you connect with them in a more proactive manner? And what I found out is that having alerts, and that kind of brings back to the habits. So my great habit of the day is actually to receive my digest from Google Alerts and Twitter alerts around my customers. So I'm not managing hundreds of them, so it facilitates a lot my day-to-day work. But what I've done is I've set up an alert for every single customer I have, customer name, but also some of the names of their key stakeholders, like the CIO, maybe the CEO, maybe the CHRO, because I'm working with HR solutions a lot, and a couple of other, like, maybe keywords that I want to focus on, like mergers and acquisitions, or maybe some, I don't know, social plan, like if it's a French customer who is doing. So what I do is every single morning I go through that digest that I receive into my email box. And from there, for example, yesterday, I've learned that one of my customers is going to buy another company, and that's interesting. That's
Nice.
interesting because it can modify quite a lot of things in terms of their software setup, and that gives me an opportunity this week to connect to the customer and say, look, I've learned that you're going through this. You probably will need this and this and that, and maybe I can also help you onboard those people from the other company. And it opens up so much, at least in the scope of the solutions that I manage. It opens up a lot of interesting possibilities. Let's be honest, it's also opens some maybe doors for upsells or cross sells or something like this. But I don't do it only from the lucrative perspective. I'm really doing it from this quest of knowing them as much as possible and understanding them as much as possible. And it's it's not only for them that I do, but also for myself, like having that connection with them, having that daily something that reminds me, oh, this company is going through something big today. And yeah,
Oh, that's
that's
cool. Yeah, Google Alerts, like that's the first where I've heard like even like including the CIOs and the management into that. I've always used like often used just the company for the meantime, but then like yeah, again like especially because you're dealing with an HR product, so that kind of makes sense. So yeah, I would
yeah,
even
IT or
even
head
if
of
you aren't,
marketing,
yeah,
like anyone with whom who can be like a top senior stakeholder in the product line that you work for. Like if it's a marketing solution, it can be a head of marketing. That can give you as well some ideas on the strategy. And I find that it also elevates your conversation afterwards with your customer. You see, like you're not just here to support the daily run, although you are here for that as well, but you're also here to talk strategy, to talk vision, maybe even long-term vision, and see how on the long run you can support them. So yeah, it greatly drives my long-term plan, because I really like having a plan which goes ahead, and maybe 1 or 2 years ahead as well,
yeah, no. Uh,
if
we
that makes
are
sense.
coming, yeah, it does, it does. We are kind of coming to the close of our time. So I want to get to one more question where because I want to make it as relatable and not, CSM is not always like, sunshines and rainbows all the time. Like it's times where when we fail as well. So would love to, if you don't mind, share like a time where you failed and like what was the journey like and what was the lesson that you learned there?
Oh God, I'm very embarrassed about this, but yeah, I even thinking about it now makes me very kind of uneasy. But I do have a very a failure story. Let's be honest. For many years, I was dedicated and working with one single customer. It was many years ago, and that was a one-on-one engagement model where big organization, and it was prior to SAP actually, so some years ago. Um, Massive strategic account, lots of product, extremely large team to work with, so around like 50 people. So it really felt like working with lots of organizations at the same time. And I was switching and kind of opening up to work with another customer and getting this other customer into my portfolio. I was very happy about it actually, because I really wanted to have a new type of engagement, see a little bit how it happens on the other side, and also have a little bit more customers, just to have that dynamic. And it worked very badly. It didn't fly at all. And the reason was that every time I was in my head, I had a main customer and a secondary customer, you see. And
I see that.
and you see and I think that we do have it. Like if we have a lot of engagements, if we have hundreds of customers or even 15 customers, there always will be one which will be maybe one or two which are main ones. And it probably even fluctuates because one customer is going through a project and all of a sudden it becomes a priority. And I learned to manage it very well, but at that time I didn't, because for me it was really my main customer and my secondary customer, and the secondary customer felt it. So every time I was meeting with the secondary customer, with the second customer, I was talking about the other one. And I was saying, oh, but you see, that other one, they're managing it this, in this way. You should consider that. And it all went from a very good intention, because, who doesn't want to get an experience from another customer managing the similar processes? usually customers are very happy about it. But the other one, they really felt that my focus is there. They are the secondary. And at a certain point of time, I had to say goodbye to them and just get another new portfolio of customers, because that split, I didn't really manage that. And the lesson learned was the great one. I mean, I was young and probably very stupid at that time. It felt so natural to share, to talk about others, to kind of, emphasize that I have that great experience. But in reality, they don't really care about your experience or others' experience. The customers want to feel that they are the main ones, that they are a company, that you do everything for them, and what they care is their project. So that was kind of it sounds very commonplace and very kind of common sense even, but yeah, it's important to treat every single one and kind of not let it transpire. So today, even though I have a priority customers, of course I have some that are priority, but they don't know anything about one another. I rarely mention others, and kind of really focus on them. When I am with them, I am with them. I don't bring any other experiences, as long as it's really, really necessary. So yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know if it's relatable, but that happened to me, and I wanted to share this one.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing. Especially like when when you're like starting off as a new CSM, you might like get into this, trap like where you're doing this. So all the new CSMs out there, like take note. And even like the more tenured CSMs, you might just not think about it, but like just do it. Again, like with a good intention, but it doesn't transpire as that. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. But thanks for sharing, Valeria. But yeah, we have come to the end of it. It was so insightful and really like thanks for sharing all these great tips. I always ask my guest this one question at the end because I want to keep the ball rolling. Uh, is basically which CSM would you like me to have as the next guest on the
Ah,
pod?
I'm happy that you asked that question, because I will name somebody who wouldn't expect it at all, and that would be Marie-Louise Gross, the
Okay.
a fellow customer success partner. Well, an ex-fellow customer success partner, because we used to work together at SAP, and she moved into another She works on some exciting projects. She has a very bright mind, very creative, different type of creativity, but very creative, bright mind. And I'm pretty sure that you will learn a lot from her. And she works for my.
Ah, okay. I'm definitely gonna reach out to her. Awesome.
You
Thanks for
should.
that suggestion. Yeah, thanks, Valeria. But yeah, now as we wrap our discussion, Valeria, is there anything else you would like to share with our listeners? Perhaps any, upcoming projects that you have, any initiatives? Of course, like people are following you on LinkedIn, so go follow Valeria on LinkedIn on all the really creative visuals that she has and the CS content. So anything else that you would like to add?
Nothing else to add apart from, yes, I will continue sharing a lot of creative visuals that I'm currently producing, all packed with customer success tips. So all on the topic of customer success, nothing else. It's really my passion and my profession. So yeah, stay tuned if you want. Follow me on LinkedIn and you will learn more. And of course, yeah, Prash, thank you so much for this discussion. It was intense, but I enjoyed it so much.
Thanks for taking our time to come and be a guest and share all your insights from all this extensive experience that you have, Valeria. Really appreciate you. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in for another episode of It All Depends Pod. We really hope you enjoyed today's discussion with Valeriya. So don't forget to subscribe and follow us on the podcast platform that you prefer, and be sure to join next time. Until then, have a good one. Cheers. Bye, Valeriya.
Cheers, Brush. Thank you very much. And thank you all.